welcome back to another episode or another DMV interview. As always, I'm your host, Gio. With me, I'm going to introduce a very important guest real quick. But first, do make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and drop a comment on what was your favorite moment in today's episode. Might turn into a clip or a reel. I don't know. Uh, well, with me today, we have a very special guest, as I mentioned. Not only is he good at building teams, he's out there building communities and cultures in the DMV soccer scene, which is very important. But I'm talking about none other than General Manager of Arlington Soccer, Leland Creadick. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited. I mean, been watching what you've been doing, and it's great to kind of see this growth in this area of the game here in the DMV, just to help get these teams and individuals some more spotlight. It's awesome to be here. Thank you again.
No, you know what? I really appreciate you taking the time. Being a GM, being involved in any kind of measure of this sport, it takes a lot of time. So I get it 100%. So I really want to let you know I appreciate you jumping on here and talking with me, indulging me, I should say. But we're going to talk about a lot about the soccer scene, but something people might not know, obviously your friends and families know, is your backstory, right? So I would love to hear the journey of how you got to become a GM of Arlington and what predated it,
Yeah,
if you indulge me.
got it. Yeah, I mean, DMV native. I mean, I grew up in Frederick, Maryland. I played soccer my entire life at this point. Played in college at Hagerstown Community College, and then a little bit at Hood College, the Division III level. And I mean, unfortunately, my last year there, I had a knee injury, did my ACL, took some time away from the game, and come 2020. Some things in life changed. I ended up moving to Alexandria, Virginia for work. And it was a weird time. COVID happened. And
Yeah.
I felt myself like sitting around like most people thinking like, wow, it's been a while since you played. I miss it. How can I get back into this? I got together with two of my close friends, Xavier Matthews and Christian Mejia, both guys I played in college with. And we decided, hey, we're going to make a team. And it started as just a Sunday league team with friends that we knew here in the area, all DMV guys. And we called the team FC 1749. Hopefully some of the people on here are familiar. It's been a bit since we've been together, but things went well in the beginning. And we realized, man, we got a good group of guys. We entered into the Maryland Majors back in, 2021, 22, around that time. And we won Division II, we won Division I. Some crazy stuff happened. Story for another time, but it allowed us to realize, like, hey, for myself, I'm slowing down on the playing side, but I really enjoy kind of overseeing the team, doing the social media, assisting guys in their journey, whether it's in between college or high school to college or professional contracts, whatever the case may be. And we entered the UPSL. Things went really well. An opportunity presented itself with Alexandria Soccer back in 2022. I became the general manager there to oversee the NPSL and UPSL teams. Thankfully, I experienced a lot of success there early on, winning the NPSL Mid-Atlantic Conference Championship in our first season. And to keep things short there, had a very good 3 years, enjoyed my time. Over the winter, this past winter, I felt it was time for a change. Arlington Soccer was one of the teams that I met with among a couple of others, and I just felt that this was a project I want to be a part of, a team with proven success, track record of success, and both quality coaching staff and player pool. So, I'm here. We're 4 games into the season, sitting top of the table. Things are going well.
We're going to talk about Arlington here in a second because it's a huge club, right? I mean, started 1970, so it has a lot of history to it. But we'll definitely dive into that. I kind of want to go back to something you said. You entered Maryland Majors as I was completely leaving the state scene, and I was doing more like the regional stuff, the NISA. I think at that very same time I was the social media manager for Steel Pulse, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, and I was helping Columbia FC, which you're familiar with because
Yes.
you got
Yep.
Carlos and them. That is small world, man, small world.
Yeah, it is.
But like those days, I always think about those because it's like it was the Maryland Majors was a such a great league for Maryland and the DC area, and then now you see leagues like Super Soccer League, which I'm heavily involved with, obviously, but then UPSL has finally got a grab here. I mean, I just wanted to point out like we could have crossed paths and how much this soccer has grown since like even COVID, right? Even before that, it was really just Maryland Majors. It was anything else. But I just wanted to point out how cool that was.
No, yeah, I mean it's awesome to be have made those connections over the years, and it's crazy, like you said, to have maybe crossed paths with some people that I didn't necessarily have a close relationship with then, but now in a very different place.
100%. But going back to you becoming a GM at Arlington, I want to get in your head, right? And I want to talk about what is a day in the life on a general manager, because a general manager is a crazy role. But when you throw in the semi-pro world, the attachment to the U soccer, to the UPSLs, the WPSLs, it's completely different than what you might imagine for a, let's say, MPS, or sorry, I was going to say MPS, MLS or USL Championship GM, right? It's very different because there's some things you still got to cut your teeth on, right? Or get really in the weeds of things. So
Yeah.
just paint me a life in a day in the life in a general manager.
Yeah, I mean, you're very right. I think at this level, it's going to look different for every team, and obviously at this level, you have teams that put priority on certain aspects of running the team
Yeah.
over others. And for me, coming from Alexandria and joining Arlington, as I mentioned, I mean, they have a track record of success on the field. So I wasn't joining into this project thinking, oh, I've got to recruit an entire team to try and build this like monster roster to compete in the league. Thankfully, I was just able to bring a couple of players with me that I had a close relationship with. And yeah, we've had success so far. But when it comes to the day in the life of, a GM for myself, one of the things that I really wanted to focus on with Arlington was building the brand a little bit. Not that they didn't have that prior, but I think there was a massive opportunity for me to come into the mix and improve the social media. I mean, I'm overseeing the Instagram account and the Twitter account, and we're trying to do some other things as well. I've created a brand new website for the men's UPSL and women's WPSL team. I think just in a sense of having a little bit of more digital footprint, that's really important. And I also think that when you're speaking with players, families, businesses, it just shows that, again, we're doing everything we can to try and make this as professional as possible. When it comes to overall operations, that's where things get tricky. I mean, a day could be me going and getting multiple tents, tables, water, ice, everything that we possibly need for a match day, fitting it in my car somehow, and then heading over to the field a couple hours prior to make sure that's all taken care of. And obviously, I think some of those things are not necessarily what people want to do, but I take a lot of pride in those little things to allow these teams to really show up and just not have to worry about anything other than putting on their jerseys, getting on the field, and getting after it. I think that anyone that knows me in this area knows that I do everything I possibly can to try and make it as professional as I can, because the reality is, yeah, it's not professional, but it is semi-professional, and it is a step above some other leagues that don't necessarily have the requirements or aren't so worried about the layout and how things are working. But I do put a lot of emphasis on those things. And then, I mean, outside of that, I think that to be sustainable in this landscape, obviously playing in these leagues, it costs money. There's a lot of costs associated with running the team. And, it's not a situation where many people are willing to just say, I'm going to open my checkbook. Here's this amount of money to cover all the costs. There's a lot of work done to secure sponsors, and a large part of my role at this point is to reach out to local businesses and try and create those relationships. So, they see the value of working with us. We can give them something in return, and ideally create a partnership that is long-standing and continues to grow over time. So that's most of what my day as a GM or days of a GM look like. Just ever changing, always something different.
Look, I first of all, you wear many hats. It's a different world down here in the lower leagues, but it's a much appreciated because those little differences are really what distinguishes you from other, as you said, other leagues, or how you're standing out to become that organization, that like flagship that people want to look to and be like, oh, you know what, I should be like them, because they make all the difference, even for players, right? The player experience changes completely when you see stuff, the little things, the ice, the tents. So I much respect. And then on top of that, the branding, you so for those that don't know, or if you don't know, Leland, I'm a marketer, so I work in marketing. So brand and advertisement, sponsorship, all that is my language, and I think that's a big thing at this level that's missed. So the fact that you're focusing on it is great, is huge for Arlington. But let's stay on that topic with Arlington, right? Let's talk about vision and strategy a little bit. So, as I mentioned, Arlington is one of the more historic organizations here. One of the I would say, I would even go as far as saying one of the most respected in the area of both youth, semi-pro. But from your standpoint, what is the big vision for the club? You could say 5 years, 10 years. What is the big vision?
It's a great question. I think obviously sitting here trying to speak on behalf of everyone at the club. In my short
Mm-hmm.
time here, I think I've got a good grasp of what the short term and I guess kind of like medium term vision are. Ideally, coming in, I know that head coach Phil Vonk, he's done an incredible job of creating a culture and setting a high standard and holding everybody accountable. I think, as you mentioned, there's nationally ranked and recognized youth club. And for me, one of the most important things is trying to continue to bridge the gap between the youth teams and our men's team. You've got so many quality players in the ECNL teams and other teams in the club that are working very hard to try and secure opportunities in both college and professional opportunities. And, if you do some research, you can see that large number of players have committed to top universities to continue their playing career collegiately. And even recently, today, there was a player in the ECNL group that has joined New England Revolution and a couple of other players who have joined MLS academies in the last month. So, for me, I want to continue to show these younger players that there's a pathway, something to look forward to. And in a perfect world, I did this a little bit at Alexandria and I really enjoy it. I do want to assist players any way possible to either help them get that college opportunity or professional opportunity because for me, I get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing this individual work so hard to try and reach their goal and playing
Right.
some part and, getting them to that next step. Obviously, it's up to them at that point, but, in a perfect world, they take that step and they succeed. And, other individuals can say, hey, look, they used Arlington Soccer as a platform to reach the next level. And that's the main goal. I think in the short term, long term, I think most teams will probably say this at this level, but with the ever-changing landscape of U.S. soccer and the pyramid, and you're hearing things about promotion and relegation in USL, I mean, you want to consider any and all opportunities with some of these leagues and just continue to monitor how things are going because, I think if I and others had an opportunity to both work in a professional environment and play in a professional environment, everybody wants that. So just continuing to do the little things and I guess build a model so that if an opportunity does present itself, we can try and take advantage of it.
It's I'm torn. I'm torn with what I'm about to say next, because I agree with you. Everybody wants to do the professional thing, but I feel like not this isn't anything to do with Arlington or anything, but it's like you need organizations like Arlington, like Christos, like that aren't necessarily professional but give the professional experience, right? Because one, like, not everyone can be professional, but you can get close to being professional, and that continues to flame that dream that players have to go play professionally. It feeds them to kind of get that experience so that they don't just go from college to boom, you're professional, right?
Yeah.
Or go from ECNL or EDP or MLS Next Pro or MLS Next and then boom, professional. Because you kind of need that place to really experience it. It's good that you guys are developing that, are creating that, and it's a huge benefit that you guys have teams like ECNL, because I'm pretty sure not all 22 players are going to get They probably all might go to college, but not all of them might get professional. But you guys have an opportunity to present them a path to still keep playing at a very high level. So I think that's fantastic, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, and obviously college is one option. Not everybody, chooses that
Yeah.
route. So it is very nice to have a platform for those individuals that maybe take a gap year or just
Yeah.
forego college and get to work or really want to just put their boots on the ground and give everything to try and earn that professional opportunity. Obviously in this country specifically, it gets a little harder as you get older, but I think that it's also just great to see some individuals not give up on that goal. And yeah, I mean, I know so many people, players that have been in an environment like ours and have received other semi-professional opportunities in different countries or professional opportunities. And again, it just goes to the team that they're in and the hard work that they're putting in on the field, and hopefully making some good connections along the way to help them with those opportunities.
So let's kind of, before we wrap here in the strategy and segment, I kind of want to get pick your brain here and ask you, how do you measure success? Because obviously you talk a lot about player development and helping those players along the journey. How do you measure that? Is it just getting to see those players sign, or is it just to see how they fall in love with the game?
Another great question. I think that it's both. I mean, you want to see players enjoying it, and teams like these at this level, you have guys that are, again, maybe in the transfer portal in college, graduated high school, and are in a weird space where they're trying to decide, okay, am I going to play here and try and get to college, or am I going to play here and pursue another opportunity? You have guys in between professional contracts, all those things. So in the environment, that makes for a very mixed group. And naturally, you have to manage players a little bit differently when that's the case. But obviously, here at Arlington, one of the reasons I've joined is because although we have players in those different kind of pools, everyone's on the same page. And when it comes to success, the group that we have, obviously that's winning and trying to go as far as we possibly can in the national scene. And I think one conversation we had that really stood out to me early on in preseason was, I said, how many guys here, raise your hand, how many guys here are trying to pursue professional opportunities? A couple of guys raised their hand. I said, I'm not judging. How many guys are just here to compete because they love the game and they want to play? The rest of them raised their hand. Well, I said, whether you like it or not, your performance every day plays a part. And if these guys who just raised their hand get that next opportunity, and is that something that you're willing to take on? And every single person said, let's go. And that makes for an incredible environment where everybody's pushing everybody, and you've got a great group of guys who are respectful, hardworking, and obviously putting in work on the field. The last thing I'll say about this is I'm not saying it's end all be all, but successful teams on the field typically receive more opportunities off the field. In my time with Alexandria and now Arlington, specifically right now, speaking about Alexandria since it's been a short time with Arlington, but, at one point we were top of the table in the conference. And I get a phone call one day and I was told, hey, the El Salvador National Team is going to be in the area. They want to know if you guys want to play a friendly. I was like, how did this even come up? Well, they know some people. They saw you guys were top of the table. They're playing, I think it was like Peru at Howdy Field. In the next couple of days, they want to tune up. I mean, that opportunity doesn't come if you're bottom of the table. And one last piece is when it comes to speaking with businesses and potential, sponsors and partners. Not that they're not willing to work with teams that aren't successful, because teams that may not be successful on the field can still provide a platform and help those businesses grow. But I think that if you were to ask a large number of business owners if they'd prefer to work with a team who's successful on the field versus not successful, they're probably going to lean towards the successful teams. So having some of that success on the field definitely makes it a little bit easier for me when I can go to these local businesses and say, hey, look, we've got a top team who's doing this. We're making it into the national tournament, so now we're getting even more exposure, which in turn hopefully would help them see a little bit more return on their investment. So that's how I would measure success at this point. And I think, there's so many different aspects that play into that.
Yeah, I mean, I love that answer. First of all, I love those two stories you told. One about the players. It's astonishing how many players are just in it to play at a high level without the thought of like, yeah, I'm not really thinking about professional. I just want to play the best.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true from when I was playing till I think the end of time, to be honest. That's probably an end all be all. But then a great story with El Salvador. That can I ask you what was the score?
I think it was 3-1.
Oh, not bad.
We had a UPSL game that day, so we were like, oh man, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Do we want to try and piece together a team that can make this happen? But we also had some youth players at the time in the MLS Next teams that were from El Salvador, and we said, look, if there's any better opportunity to get these guys in front of the national team, it's right now. So we took a mixed group, and actually it was funny. A young player at the time who I've had in both UPSL and NPSL at Alexandria, he's at JMU right now, Jeffrey Aguilar, great player, local to this area. I think it was second half, just absolutely went on the field with the most confidence, earned a
Love that.
PK, slotted it. And I mean, that was just an incredible experience to see a young guy like that go on and act like it was just another day. And I think every player and coach involved had a great experience. And to this day, I have connections that I can reach out to, which is incredible. I mean, it was such a great time.
That's fantastic. I absolutely love that. All right, let's kind of switch rhythms here and talk a little bit more about Arlington as far as like the club itself, right? Let's talk about a little bit about like you're the GM, you see Arlington, you know your vision of Arlington, you see what Arlington means to the community, but that doesn't make everything peachy, right? It's still a very interesting landscape we exist on, and I wanna toss it to you and ask you, what are some of those challenges you see in this landscape that we're currently in, and what is that old cliche? What keeps you up at night?
I think the two of the biggest challenges that I'll focus on for teams in this landscape are the the financial side. I mean, we've talked about it a
Yeah.
little bit. You know, although we have a large, youth club behind us, as do some of the other teams in this landscape, when you talk about, let's just a men's team, some people see it as, oh, why would we put money and resources towards this team if it's just this standalone men's team that's also associated with this club? So that's why bridging that gap between the youth teams and the men's team is so important because, yeah, we don't want to be a standalone men's team associated with Arlington. We really want all of the youth players and families to see what it is we're doing, get behind us, and again, hopefully at some point want their son or daughter to be involved in
Mm.
one of the high level teams. And when I talk about the financial side, clubs that are operating similar to Arlington, you have to justify every expense, and it needs to make sense. It needs to be sustainable. So when you're talking about leagues like the UPSL where there is a significant financial investment that goes into playing year or mostly year round, obviously fall and spring seasons that kind of bleed into the summer, but field costs, refs, league associated costs, equipment, all of those things, it can be very difficult. So I think that, you know, I'm trying to continue to work with local businesses and even other individuals that aren't associated with the club at all, that are just passionate about the game and maybe want to be involved in a project. I'm trying to get those types of individuals involved. And obviously, when that happens, it allows for us to do the little things that make it even more professional. So if we do have to travel, instead of carpooling, we're taking a bus. When it is post match and these guys have worked maybe during the day, they drove an hour to get to this game. They've been here for three hours maybe. It's late. Maybe we have post-match meals for these guys so that they don't have to worry about going home and cooking or going to spend money on food. When it comes to equipment, having all those things taken care of. And then obviously, for those people involved, coaches and staff, you want it to be more than a passion project. I mean, when I got started, I knew this was an opportunity for me to volunteer, learn the landscape, make connections, and then again, I'm very open about it. One of the main reasons that I was willing to join Arlington outside of what I've already said was there was an opportunity for me to see, some payment for the things that I'm doing. And anybody wants to see or feel like there's value and that their work is, noticed. And obviously when you're getting these shout outs and things, that's great, but time is money. And at a certain point, some people aren't able to justify spending so much time in these teams. So in a perfect world, you're also getting, more of a financial backing so that you can support all the individuals involved because they deserve it. And outside of the financial piece, I think that the one big issue for every team in the DMV for the most part, and a lot of other areas in the country, is lack of professional level venues. When it comes to playing in the UPSL and some of the other leagues that we have available, especially in this area, you want to do everything you can to try and make it a professional environment, to have a proper field that's the right size with locker rooms and scoreboard and all of that. But the reality is that's not really an option for a lot of the teams. So I applaud those teams that do have the ability to have those things, because it's always fantastic when you show up in that environment and it does have a different feel. And I think it's a game of how can we make this happen? What relationship can we make to try and push forward in this area? So, when it comes to keeping me up at night, that's probably the biggest thing, is just wanting to have a proper home, I guess you would say, so that we really can kind of dig our feet in, build community around that, and make it really feel like home. So when people come to visit us, they're like, man, this isn't some neutral venue that we're playing at. We're in Arlington's house now, and it feels a little uncomfortable. So that's probably the two things that I would say are kind of the big barriers at this point.
I absolutely love that you want to create a home for Arlington. It sounds very, as a visitor, that would sound very terrifying, the home of Arlington. But on the flip side, is there a project or something that you're really excited for it to come to happen, or that you guys are building right now?
Yeah, I
Obviously,
mean,
outside of the potential national run.
yeah. Well, one thing we already did was we got to do a train with the pros clinic with the
Oh, that's
men's
cool.
team, and it was a great opportunity to have a large number of youth players kind of come out and genuinely just have a lot of fun, meet the players, kind of get to play with them a little bit, sign autographs. And this past weekend we had two youth teams come out. They got to do the walkout with the guys, and they celebrated the first goal, and it's such a great feeling to be able to give back to those kids. We kind of call it like a big brother program, where the players on our team who have all gone through different experiences in the game get a chance to speak with some of these families to try and kind of guide them through the landscape. Obviously there's a lot of things the club does to help with that, but there's so many kids involved in Arlington and some of these other clubs that not every family is going to have the resources to maybe understand the college recruiting process, or understand the difference between the leagues, or maybe they need an individual trainer or something. And a lot of our players do help a lot of youth players on the side to try and improve and just continue to build the love for the game. And that's been massive. And just a quick snippet, we are planning to do that with the women's team as well, which I'm really looking forward to. And Arlington has some cool events that they do that really involve the community and some of the sponsors. So it doesn't happen until over the summer, early fall. I think it's called Soccer Fest, but a really cool opportunity to get out there and do some of those similar things. And yeah, it's incredible to be associated with this club and have the players on our team willing to do those small things, because it goes a long way.
That's fantastic that you're also doing it for the women's side. Not everyone can make that claim, right? Not everyone has such a robust development, both on the boys and the girls side, and a men's and a women's team. So it's fantastic. You're already a leg up on everything. We talked a lot about player development. I kind of want to switch, you know, to talk a little bit about player development, because Arlington is robust youth academy, boys and girls. Then we have the men and women's team, as we just mentioned. And when I ask this question, I'm including Arlington in this. But do you think the DMV gets enough credit for the talent it develops?
I really don't. It's really unfortunate, and I've thought about this for a long time. But if you do your research, and which I'm sure you have, but if anybody decides, hey, let me do a little research, the amount of players that have roots in the DMV playing all over the world at very high levels is unreal. And I have to give a quick shout out to, social media pages like DMV Soccer, and some of the other pages like that, where they're shouting these players out that are playing both at the club, collegiate, and professional levels, amateur levels. Because yeah, there's guys that I've crossed paths with in the past, and some of those guys even in the Maryland majors. I mean, the day that we played a game, we're playing against a couple of guys that are now have played in MLS teams and USL championship teams, and it's a big deal. And guys get to say, hey, I played against that guy, or I know that individual, I have a close relationship. And I feel like although we don't get enough credit, there is still so much support from everybody here in the DMV to keep tabs on the individuals that are out there doing their thing. So I feel like you could recruit a U.S. national team, or even DC United, Loudoun United. You could piece together a team full of DMV natives and be extremely, extremely competitive. So that's how much I feel about the level here in the DMV.
I'm about to open up a can of worms here because this is a dream of mine, right? I don't know why this is a dream of mine, but this has always been a dream of mine to get like a state tournament where it's just players, kind of like ODP, right? But for adults, obviously.
Yeah.
Get players of the said state born or developed there and create state teams and just have a tournament, like kind of like a state cup. And just see who wins. I think Virginia and Maryland is the final. That's what I'm thinking.
Maryland would be dangerous. I mean, I'm in Virginia now, but Maryland would be dangerous.
It would
All
be
those,
so fun.
yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. That would be something.
All right, so we're gonna get a little bit into the what I like to call rapid fire. It's really just some quick questions. You don't have to do a deep dive. Is just to get some thoughts into your mind. Let's start with your proudest moment as a GM so far.
It's got to be lifting that trophy the first NPSL season with Alexandria in the conference championship. I mean, it was a brand new project that was really put together last minute. Thankfully, we were able to piece together a really solid player pool and have incredible coaches involved in support of the club. And I don't know if you remember, but that conference championship was a 9-goal game where we beat Northern Virginia United 5-4. And I mean, it was an absolute thriller. So that's got to be up there. I have to throw this out there as well because it's in a very close second, but going to Annapolis in their first season after they had such a incredible run until they played us in the regular season, and we got that win in front of all those fans. Obviously, I applaud everything that they have done and continue to do, but it was incredible to go there in that type of environment, which a lot of guys and myself had never really been a part of something like that. And, a former MLS player to score the winning goal, and Chris Odiatsum, it was unreal. That was such a cool experience.
Look, you know what? I can't hate that because Annapolis has a great environment, and so anytime, whatever the team, whether it's Annapolis, whether it's another team that's like Chattanooga or Detroit that just are known for their environment, and you can go there and take some points, it has to be sweet.
Yeah,
everyone likes to play a villain.
Yeah.
All right. Do you ever lace up your boots in practice?
I honestly do try to as much as possible. Typically on nights where we might have a little less numbers, we don't really have issues with that. But it's with such a busy schedule with my full-time job and then all my GM responsibilities, it can be hard sometimes to fit in playing. So, I lace up at practice and try and talk a little trash to some of the guys and show them, I still got a little something in the tank.
That's fantastic. You got to, man. Whenever you get the opportunity, you got to, man.
Have to, man. My body might not be able to do what it used to do, but class is forever. So,
Hey, there you go.
I gotta show.
Love that. Absolutely love that. All right. Two more. Do you have any post-game rituals, whether it's food, music, or something you do every post-game?
Very dependent on the result of the game, to be honest with you. But thankful we've had a lot of success recently. Post-game ritual typically is going to get some food with a couple of close friends, maybe family members that have come to watch the game. It's always nice because match day for me, really starts when I wake up, just preparing everything and kind of being in that mind space of just like complete focus on getting the job done. So when it's over and you have that relief of like, got the 3 points, everything's cleaned up, a good meal is usually in order. So that's the typical post game ritual.
It's a good one. It's a good one. All right, and I think I might know the answer to this one, but if you had a magic wand to make one dream for Arlington come true, Arlington Soccer, what would it be?
It's got to be the facility, man. I mean, like we have everything in place. We're going to continue to make improvements in all areas, and if that opportunity were to present itself, it would help us kind of push forward that much faster. But to not use that just that, I would say it would be great to get an opportunity to have some chances against some bigger teams. I mean, I just, when leaving Alexandria, had a chance to take part in the Open Cup qualifying, which was a great
Mm.
experience. It was my first time being associated with that. So really hopeful that we can get that done at Arlington and try and kind of do what Dream did here in the area and some of the other teams in the lower leagues and take on some of the giants. I think it would be great to just see some of those teams continue to give opportunities to players in our landscape because there's so many diamonds in the rough. And the way I see it is if these guys are this quality, maybe training sometimes once, twice, three times a week. Imagine if you put them in a professional environment, all they had to worry about was the game. You know, the strides that they could take and the levels they could reach. So hopeful, you know, the facility would be nice, but it'd also be great to continue to make some of those connections with some of these bigger teams, both in the area and out of the area, to try and get guys opportunities.
Yeah, anytime you get to watch one of the lower league teams play one of the upper echelons, it's always that's when I pay attention. Once it's upper echelons versus upper echelons, I tune out.
Yeah, it's not
I
as
belong
fun.
in this. Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, Leland, I appreciate the conversation. This has been great. I appreciate you taking us behind the scenes and kind of letting us see what Arlington is all about and what their vision is. But I want to give you the opportunity. Is there any final message you want to put out to the community, to the family, to the players? Anything you want to put out there?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, just quick to the players, anybody out there that's interested in being in a high level environment with competitive players that are all working towards the same goal and a coaching staff that just wants the best for the guys. I mean, it's a place to be. And when it comes to the families, we want to continue to make those relationships. I look back at my experience growing up, and I have to be so thankful for the investment my parents made in my brother and I and our journey in the game, the time, the money. I really appreciate these parents trying to keep their kids involved at all levels. And when it comes to just the community in general, be on the lookout. I'll be reaching out. We're really looking to continue to get plugged in with the community and try and build the atmosphere and try and make it as professional as possible. I mean, my hope, last thing I'll say is we've got to find a spot where we've got the post game kind of after party for the
Mm.
celebrations with both fans, players, and everybody associated. I think when you look at lower levels, maybe across the pond or in other countries, you have that feel where it's just everybody is looking forward to this day, that time when the whistle blows, and afterwards it's all about regardless of how it went, we've got everyone around, and it's just that community feel. So we're going to really push to try and make that happen here in the near future.
Love it, love it. Looking forward to it. Always going to be supportive and definitely going to be a fan from afar.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for jumping on. Really appreciate your time and everything you said today. For those listeners, do make sure you hit the subscribe, share, like. This, let's make this episode the most watched episode thus far, or listened to episode thus far, and that way we can get a part two at some point.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good one, everyone. Thank you, buddy.